So right off the bat, OC in this context stands for original character. IP in this context stands for intellectual property. This is an OC, this is an IP. This is an IP when it was still just an OC. Here are a few of your favorite IPs when they were still just OCs. Now, I'm sure you've heard that every physical thing first started out as an idea in someone else's head. Now, that's great news for you because it means that your idea can one day become a physical thing. You're watching this video because you want to make that jump. I'm making this video because I can tell you how. My qualifications, very briefly: CalArts, then Disney, 3 webcomics, 2 graphic novels, 1 animated series, 1 failed TV show pitch, and 1 hopefully successful TV show pitch. Before all this, I was just like you, spinning my wheels on the same project for 12 long years. I know a thing or two about making it out of OC hell. Now we're gonna start at baseline foundations and work our way up. What do you really need in order to turn a character from an OC into an IP? From something that you made up in your head into something that people know, love, recognize, and relate to? Well, you don't need a studio, or a publisher, or a lot of money, or even talent, really. You only need 4 things: idea, strategy, execution, audacity. They occur in that order, but they are equally important. So let's make our way through from number 1. You got to come up with your own world, because in order to turn something from an OC into an IP, you first need an OC. Now the secret is you don't need as much as you think you do here, because unless you're Eiichiro Oda or Harper Lee, the goal is not to create one perfect story for your entire life. The goal is to create so many bad stories that a good story is inevitable. Now, because you're an artist, you probably know the parable of the pots, but just in case you're not familiar, I'll tell it to you very briefly. A pottery teacher once split his class into 2 sections, Section A and Section B. He then instructed Section A to create 1 perfect pot for the entire semester, and he told Section B to create 1 new pot every class. The quality did not matter for Section B. But as I'm sure you can correctly predict, at the end of the class, all the very best pots, the most creative, the most beautiful, the most technically correct, the most functional, came from the same section, Section B. Oh, it's obvious, but sometimes we miss the obvious, so I'll spell it out for you. Iteration breeds innovation. When you fail enough times, you start to instinctively pick up on how not to fail next time. That's what you're aiming for. If you need it even simpler, the simplest version of this lesson is to empty the clip. You don't need all those ideas up in your head. Pick one, get moving. When you fuck this one up, move on to the next one. Now, how do you pick one? Story time. When I was in animation school, we had this thing called Pixar Day, where 4 artists would come from Pixar to our school in order to give us a little talk, answer our questions, and generally inspire us. On this particular day, one of the 4 artists who showed up was Pete Docter. Now, I stood in a really long line in order to ask Pete Docter a one-on-one question. And when I got to the front of the line, my question was, what do I do when I have an entire world and no story? Keep in mind, when I tell you I was spinning my wheels for 12 years, I really meant that. And I was starting to get worried because I felt like there was no way out. I felt like I'd written myself into a corner. So Pete thought about it, and eventually he told me that there are 2 kinds of story: inside out and outside in. Inside out is when a story comes from the innate desires of a character. Outside in is where a story must be told and a character is designed as a vehicle to tell that story. Pete Docter told me that it's better to focus on stories that are outside in because it's easier to tell a story when you know the whole story first. And that was really good advice, but not for me. Pete Docter very generously handed me a gem there, an aphorism that would have been extremely useful for a person who was constructing standard 3-act Western narratives in a 90-minute film. And because I was a CalArts character animation student talking to Pete Docter of Pixar, that was the right advice to give me. Don't get me wrong, Pete Docter doesn't know me. He had no way of knowing that I would leave the animation industry in less than 5 years. He had no way of knowing that I was actually a long-form artist, that it would take me 45 chapters to tell the first beat of my story, that I would go on to create webcomics that spanned years and animations with multiple 10-episode seasons. He did not know. I didn't know. So I tried following that advice. I read books like Story by Robert McKee and Save the Cat. I studied the Story Circle and the Monomyth, and I did make a few outside-in narrative films, and it worked sometimes, but not really, and it wasn't that fun, not for me. And so with the benefit of hindsight, I feel confident in saying that I respectfully disagree, because it may be easier and more effective to tell a story from the outside in, but I find that sometimes you just have an OC, or a group of OCs, or a world of OCs that you would spend your entire life with if you could. I mean, binders, sketchbooks, terabytes. I mean, class periods, bus rides, entire years, sometimes decades of your life. I mean, you look up at the sky and you think about what your OC would say if they were here. You look out at the ocean and you wonder who in your world has never seen the ocean before. It is easier to tell a story from the outside in, but I don't think that matters. Because for most of us, the goal is not to tell a story that's easy. The goal is to tell a story that you love, for creation, not for consumption. And there is a story there. You just have to find it. Now, I always go character first because that's what I'm best at and that's how my mind works. For you, it might be different. You might have a bunch of crazy ideas. You might have ideas like little boy stuffed tiger comes to life, or a girl gets transported to a whole world of spirits, or a frog is a samurai. That's fine. Just decide on something that you want to make. If you're like me, all you got to do is dig around in the world. If you're a novelist, write some short stories. If you have 50 OCs, pick 3 and make some 4-panel comics about them. Do this until something clicks. Not fully, just enough to move on to the next step. Perfection is your enemy here, and in general. You are not seeking perfection, you are seeking one more solid step in front of you. So beeline it. Make some decisions without thinking. Just pick something and hit the ground running already. That's what separates people like Eiichiro Oda from people like that one friend that you have who swears up and down that they're going to write a book and still no progress on the book. No shade, by the way. Just send them this video. Remember that you're trying to make your way out of the OC whirlpool now, and that requires intentional decision making. You don't do this by accident. It requires doing something that you have never done before. And that thing is picking. So just pick. It's your world. You get to choose what happens next. Now stop. Crucial. Warning. Red light. Do not make something that you think other people will like. If you do that, not only will you not like it and no one else will like it, but you'll never find your artistic voice and you will give up. Now, you're not going to listen to me, and I know that, because a prerequisite to being a mature artist who knows and owns their own artistic voice is being a young artist who thinks they have to make something that everyone in the world will like. Fine, think that. Fail at it. The faster that you realize that playing to the gallery always equals bad art, the faster that you will start to develop your own unique story sense and seek your own internal validation. Now, speaking of internal validation, sometimes the hardest part of making something is learning what it is that you want to make. You do that hard work by just getting in touch with yourself and with who you are as a person. Being an artist is being an alchemist. Experience becomes empathy, becomes something that you made, which becomes catharsis. So how do you do that hard work and begin that process? And don't ask me, you know how. You keep a journal. You put up a picture of yourself when you were a little kid, and you do the single most important thing that you always avoid, but that you know you're going to have to do eventually. Learning to love yourself. Shut up. It's not cringe. It's not a platitude. It's necessary. And don't worry, I'll help you. By now, I hope you know that this is not a channel where I baby you and tell you how great and special you are. That's not me. That'll never be me. I only teach you the facts here. And the fact is, you are not special. You are a mathematical impossibility. According to Scientific American and a report published by a German math class earlier this year, the total number of human beings that have lived on this planet since the beginning of time is between 117 billion and 140 billion human beings. Now that number is ridiculously high. So high, in fact, that the human brain simply cannot comprehend it. As a matter of fact, it's so high that a visual representation calculator that was made specifically to show big numbers cannot even comprehend it. But luckily, we have something that helps us to make sense of the nonsensical. Art. Meet Chinese artist and activist Ai Weiwei. He made this installation, Sunflower Seeds, in 2010 with 100 million handcrafted porcelain sunflower seeds. The installation weighed 150 metric tons. It covered 1,000 square feet of floor to a depth of 10 centimeters, which is about this high, across 2 basketball courts. Now, 100 million porcelain sunflower seeds is not the same as 140 billion people. To represent the total amount of human beings who have lived on the planet since the beginning of time, you would need 1,400 of Ai Weiwei's installations sitting side by side. And within that measure, 2,800 basketball courts worth of sunflower seeds this deep. This is you! Taking into consideration your lineage, your nationality, your culture, the language you speak, your time period, and everything else that is unique to you, You are the only version of you that could ever exist in the entire universe, past, present, or future. No other human will ever be able to tell a story like you. You need to care about that before anybody else will. Got it? Okay. Let's talk strategy. Strategy. Make a plan of attack. This is where 90% of people fail, not because they don't care enough, but simply because they don't know what to do after the first step. They don't know how to do it or where to start. So they spend 90% of their time posting the same OCs in the same positions, if they post at all, spinning their wheels and making up lore, which ultimately at the end of the day is completely useless. You will spend years or decades of your life building worlds that nobody will ever see, not because you don't care enough, but just because you don't know what happens after you come up with the idea. You are stuck in a whirlpool with no way out. Here are the practical steps to get you out. First, decide. What is it? A film, an animated show, a webcomic, a novel, a graphic novel, a concept album, a series of sculptures, a poem as long as Dante's Inferno? It doesn't matter. It can be anything. And this is your idea, which means that you get to decide exactly what it is. But it will always be nothing until you decide that it's something. It will always just be an idea until you decide that it's not. And this is where I finally get serious with you. You decide what to turn your project into by measuring your desire against your ability. So you want to make a 90-minute CG animated film, but you have no connections, no capital, and no experience with CG animation software. Well, you could do that. I'm never going to tell you what you can and cannot do, but I will ask you a question. Does it have to be 90 minutes instead of 10? Does it have to be CG animated instead of puppeted or live action or even hand-drawn? If the answer is yes, because it is your dream to have a 90-minute CG animated film, even though you have no connection, no capital, and no experience with CG animation software, well then, that's a lot of work. But you know what you need to do, so you better get started. If you have decided to make an animated TV show, an animated series, or anything else of that nature, then I have excellent news for you. I have already made a video explaining how to do every technical step of that process, including the planning. The better news is that if you do watch that video, it will apply to any discipline that you choose, as long as you know how to do some light tweaking to fit your needs. If you need more help or you get stuck, come back and ask me down below. Really, a lot of my videos are based off of questions that you ask me. But I'm not an oracle, I'm not a miracle worker, and I am not a font of artistic knowledge. I don't know everything. I am only determined to tell you everything that I know so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel the same way that I did again and again and again. So with that in mind, let's move on. Execution. I explain exactly how to in the video that I just mentioned, so I won't do it again for you, but here are the basic steps. Now you already decided what the plan's going to be, so now you just need to find out what the materials will be. What do you need? Camera, computer, software, green screen? It's your project, not mine. So you figure it out and get your supply list together. Next, write your script or your outline or your plot twist or your third act turn or whatever it is that you need to tell your story. You can really skip this step if you're just trying to figure out how to make something for the first time, but I suggest you do a little bit of planning. You will be grateful for it. And it's good to practice your storytelling skills if you want to become a better storyteller. Next, you will need a production schedule. Art is a full-time job and you are now the boss and the employee, so you need to hold yourself accountable. But do not ever punish, only reward, especially at the beginning. Remember that art is supposed to be fun, so do not ever beat yourself up over something as trivial as a self-imposed deadline. It's hard enough for artists out here, dude. Be a cheerleader, not a critic. You can talk to the critics when you have to talk to the critics. For now, do not carry one around with you in your head. You should love what you're doing enough that you want to do it. If that's not the case, just change what you're doing. It's not that serious. You're an artist. You have your whole life to make art. Now, some further basics to keep in mind while you're executing your plan. Number one, your health always comes first. If you blow out a wrist or fuck up your eyes or, God forbid, burn out the way that I did in January of this year, it will take you months or years to recover. 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. Now, you're not going to remember that one. How do I know? Because I never remember. But just try your best. 1 in every 10 times is better than 0. And take breaks when you need them. Long ones. You want to be a lifer, right? So you need some union protections. Downtime is non-negotiable. Vacations, non-negotiable. Here are some more ideas to protect your mind and body. I read books on the far wall of my living room by projecting the PDF from all the way across the house. I also take long walks with my dog in the morning and try to read license plates from as far away as I can. Here are your basic wrist stretches. Do them before and after you draw. Pause this and save those wrist stretches. Do not skip this step. Be serious. You're an artist now. Act like it. The only tools you can't replace are the tools that you were born with. Protect your body. Treat yourself like you love yourself. And if that's too hard, then at least treat yourself like you love making art. When it comes to execution, stick to the plan. Do not bite off more than you can chew. And if you do, spit some out. Ask for help. Go on hiatus. If you die from overwork, your work does not get finished. Your story dies with you. So don't die, my friend. Meet your appropriate edge and go no further. You find your appropriate edge with experimentation. This is my second year in a row burning out in January. Now I'm still learning and I don't ever expect myself to be perfect. So my goal is not to never burn out again. My goal is to make it to February. Now, if you have followed all of these steps, then you should be well on your way to producing something that you're proud of, or that you're proud of yourself for finishing, or at least that you're proud of yourself for getting further than you ever have. Congratulations. But that doesn't get you from OC to IP. That is still an OC that you have there in your hands because you never bothered to show it to anyone, did you? And so if you made it this far in the video, then you must be asking me the question, how do I make it over the hurdle? If it's not the idea, the strategy, the execution, or even the product, then what is it that gets me from OC to IP? That's a good question. And I know that I told you that it was 4 things, but it's not. It's actually just one. Audacity. Audacity is the single most important thing that you can have when it comes to making your ideas real in a way that people believe. Because who is going to believe in your ideas if not for you? Exactly. You need to clean up your mindset. Step 1 is to start calling yourself an artist. Get serious. And I'm gonna be so real with you. I don't care if you're a full-time student. I don't care if you're a barista in a small town, or an Amazon warehouse worker, or a truck driver, or a math professor, or a lawyer, or a stay-at-home parent of 30 years. You cannot serve 2 masters. You cannot live 2 lives. Shut up about your other job. You are an artist now. Act accordingly. Now, wait. Before we go any further, I need you to go back 15 seconds and listen to what I just said, okay? I'll wait here, you go back. Go back. I'll wait. Oh, you're back? Okay, tell me. Did I say quit your job? No, I didn't say that. Did I say get yourself fired? Did I say don't feed your family? I never said that. I said make art. When Stephen King was writing his first novel, Carrie, he was working full-time shifts at an industrial laundromat, and then he would come home and balance a Fisher-Price desk on top of his knees at the family washing machine so that he could write after his children went to sleep. Now, I'm not saying be Stephen King. I'm saying make art. And before you can make art, you need to make a decision. Are you an artist or aren't you? And if you said yes, prove it. You are exactly who you say you are. So when you introduce yourself to people, do not say you are a nursing student who likes to paint. You are a painter. Get it right. The next thing you have to do is just to post it and build a following, or do a gallery, or get a booth at a con, or email an agent, or rent a theater and get up on the stage. Yes, right now. I know you don't feel ready. You're never gonna feel ready. When you are a performer, you perform whether or not someone is there to watch it. When you are a storyteller, you tell the story, whether or not somebody else is there to listen to it. Not because someone needs to hear it, but because you need to tell it, because you tell stories. That's who you are. You could call it cringe, or you can call it being delulu, or you can call it faking it till you make it, or lying, cheating, conning, stealing, playing make-believe, pretending. Anything that you want to call it, you can call it. But the truth is, all of your favorite artists have been doing it since the beginning of time. When you know who you are, you don't let anyone else tell you differently. Not your parent, your teacher, your boyfriend, or even an empty theater on opening night. You tell the world who you are, and that's how they know who you are. Now, this is the most important step of all because it changes how you move in the world. When you introduce yourself as an artist, you will be introduced to more artists. You will stick out in people's minds as my son's artist friend, or my kid's artist babysitter, or my coworker who plays in a jazz band on Friday nights, or that one person I know who hand crochets sweaters out of plastic bottles. That is what you want. Identity creates opportunity. And before you know it, people will begin to show up. Now, here is the most important thing you will ever learn from my channel. Write this down. Are you ready? People want you to win. Now, there are a lot of haters online that will try to convince you otherwise, but online is not the real world. And in the real world, we are all rooting for you. I want you to win. The people who are watching this channel want you to win. The people who recognize you from the bus stop and the grocery store and the dentist's office all definitely want you to win. When you take one step towards your dreams take 2 steps towards you. You are an artist. Start telling people. They will start echoing it back to you. You know this happens. You've seen the TikToks, they made you cry. You've seen it happen to someone that you know, that made you cry too. So just let it happen for you now. The only thing standing between your OC and an IP is whether or not you make it. So just make it. Allow it to be bad, that's the only way you learn. And then make another, and another, and another. And in 15 years, or 20, or 50, you will finally get the call that you have been waiting for your entire life. As long as you don't give up. Good luck.